Today we're looking at understanding political commentary, specifically the political cartoon, and we're using SOAPStone as the tool to help us get there. The goal of SOAPStone is to focus on the organizational structure of a cartoon. It highlights the purpose of the satire, mainly what is being attacked in hopes of change. SOAPStone is an acronym for subject, occasion, audience, purpose, speaker, and tone. The breakdown of each of those goes like this. Subject is the main message the cartoonist is presenting. It's the main idea, and often is the larger of the items in the picture, or what takes up the most of the image. As you're looking for subject, ask yourself, what is the cartoonist pointing out? The occasion is the place, time, and context the cartoon was written around. Often, political cartoons focus on a current event, so knowing what that current event is helps us understand the occasion. So you're looking for dates, place names, mentions of events that precede what the cartoon is about. Ask yourself, how does the place, time, or context affect the cartoon? The audience is the group or individuals the message is directed to, so look for names, places, and specific words. Ask yourself, what characteristics does the audience have in common? How is the cartoonist addressing them? And how is the cartoonist drawing the audience in the image? More often than not, political cartoons use stereotypes to get their ideas across quickly. And more often than not, those stereotypes will be labeled as all of America. So frequently, a political cartoon's audience is most Americans. Purpose is the reason for the cartoon. So you're thinking about author's purpose here, to persuade, to inform, to entertain. Look for the cartoonist's goal for the audience. Do they want to change in action or a change in belief? And ask yourself, what does the cartoonist want me to do, think, or believe? The speaker is the voice that tells the story. So here it's often the cartoonist, but you need to look for their bias on the entire purpose. Also, what point of view is the picture drawn from? Ask yourself, does this person know the topic? Are they credible? Do they have a bias? Have they presented both sides? Frequently, you're going to have to ask yourself, why not? Because a political cartoon rarely is going to present a balanced argument. Tone is the attitude a cartoonist has about his or her topic. You see that same definition in all types of literature. Here you need to look for word choice, emotions expressed, syntax, imagery, and the scale of images. Often, because satire uses exaggeration, cartoonists will make a certain idea larger or more ridiculous than others. Ask yourself, how does the cartoonist feel about the subject, and how do you know? So here we have an example from World War II. We looked at this a little bit earlier in the lesson. And here we're looking at, this is Dr. Seuss and his image about World War II. This is before America joins the war. And I know that because this is an American cartoon drawn by an American political cartoonist and because of the words. Now, if you know anything about ostriches, they put the head in their sand. And this becomes an idiom for ignoring your situation. So here we are selling the ostrich bonnet, which relieves the Hitler headache. Forget the terrible news you've read, your mind's at ease with an ostrich head. And then a person is selling these hats and putting them on Americans' heads, and then they go stick their head in the sand. And the bottom commentary says, we always were suckers for ridiculous hats. So let's go ahead and create a soapstone based on this image. Let's start with our subject. So what is our subject? Well, it has to do with World War II, specifically with America's involvement, and ignoring Hitler. How do we know? Because that's the overall. We hear the word Hitler, we see ignoring the news, and then we have this ridiculous idea of hiding your head in the sand. So what is the occasion? World War II, specifically Hitler's rise to power. Now remember that America stays out of the war until Pearl Harbor is attacked. So staying out of the war and ignoring everything in Europe, that would be a call for hiding your head in the sand. The audience is the American public, specifically newsreaders. The purpose is to get Americans involved in World War II. How do we know? Okay. Now we knew that the audience was Americans because they're the only people that really are ignoring the war. And we see that they're newsreaders because it says there, forget the terrible news you've read. So why do we want to get them involved? How do we know this? Remember that political cartoons are satire. They're trying to make fun of something to result in change. So if we're making fun of ignoring the war, then the purpose must be to go to war, to fight against Hitler. The speaker is our cartoonist. Now, sometimes this part of SOAPStone requires a bit of research. Now, if you know anything about Dr. Seuss, he of course wrote those great kid books that you probably read about fish and cats and hats, but he's also well known for his job in creating American propaganda against the Axis forces during World War II. He's very, very outspoken about war, and his political cartoons from World War II are vast. There's a great number of them. He actually goes on to make some stuff about the Cold War too. So to know that about him makes us understand he knows the value of war and he's very outspoken about it. Finally, we have tone. Now here we're looking for word choice. And because this is going to be exaggerated word choice, we're going to look for emotional context words. So connotation words, words with an emotional negative charge. Scathing would be the overall tone because we use words like terrible and suckers and ridiculous. Also, look how silly these people look wearing that ostrich hat. So our tone here, scathing, ridiculing. In review, SOAPStone shows us the organizational structure of a political cartoon by highlighting the attack purpose of a satire. It also allows us to focus on one element of an image so we can understand the overall piece.